our meeting started today. Great. Thanks so much, Zoe, for doing that. Thank you again for joining us for our fourth and final learning community call for the year, for year 2 of this technical assistance project for the MCH addressing adolescent well-being. Again, we are grateful to have all of you here in this space today. Thank you for being with us, and we look forward to some collaborative conversation, learning, and also engaging with Casie from the DPI around the youth risk behavior survey as well. So with that, we want to just introduce our team again and share a few updates. So on the slide here, you'll see our team members. Many of them are on the call with us today. But we have Sarah Boulton, who has joined our team, and alphabetically, she also happens to be at the top of our list. But Sarah is the Regional Community Health Team Supervisor. She is new to this team. She is supervising 2, soon to be 3 renal health coordinators. And Sarah will also be transitioning to project leadership for our MCH work moving into year 3. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah so she can introduce herself and her team and tell you a little bit more about the work that they are doing as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Danette. And I am going to share some slides. Are folks seeing that? Thumbs up. Wonderful. So good afternoon. It is no longer morning. Good afternoon. It's Monday. We appreciate the opportunity to provide a brief introduction of the Regional Community Health Team and to share space with these partners. So we'll give just a quick introduction of the team. So I'm Sarah Boulton. As Danette said, I'm the Regional Community Health Team Supervisor. So provide statewide strategic planning for the Regional Community Health Team and support for our regional coordinators located around the state. And I work out of Extension's Madison office. And I will pass it over to Pearlie to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pearlie Wong. So I work with Sarah as one of the Regional Community Health Coordinator. I support the Northeast region, and I am based in Brown County. Thank you. Sheena?
Hi, everybody. Sheena Cook-Fulsing in the Southwestern region as part of the Regional Community Health Team. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Wonderful. And as Danette said, we are in the midst of recruitment for a 4th team member. So that will be a coordinator in the Northwest region. And this is the Regional Community Health Team map. Might be a little difficult to see really specific details on, but this gives you a sense of the regions for this team with coordinators initially intended in areas of the state that are more rural serving and where community health capacity resources may be more limited. So in the Southwest, Northeast, and Northwest regions. And the Regional Community Health Team, like Danette's Behavioral Health Team, is housed within Division of Extension's Institute of Health and Wellbeing, and it is a new initiative to provide training, technical assistance, and resource support to build capacity of community-based partners in identifying and responding to community-driven health priorities. And we do that by partnering with local tribal health departments, coalitions, and other community-based partners to provide technical assistance and capacity building in support of community health assessment and planning processes. So that includes supporting partners in things like engaging community in community health assessment, planning, and decision-making processes, support around community health assessment activities. So that includes data collection and analysis, as well as things like partner and systems mapping, and then facilitating that data-informed action planning. So supporting partners in things like identifying evidence-based strategies and aligning local partnerships. So lots of work that's in alignment with this group of folks and working towards adolescent well-being around the state. So this team is really looking forward to partnering with you all in the coming year, in year 3. And at this point, would welcome any questions that folks might have. Seeing and hearing none, I will turn it back over to you, Danette. Thanks so much.
There we go. I apologize. I was working my way through getting the agenda adjusted and getting some things updated. So thank you again, Sarah. We look forward to collaborating with you and your team and supporting our local and tribal health departments all across the state. So we really appreciate that. We now have, I think, Heidi on our call. And Heidi, I'm just going to turn it over to you to give you a moment if you'd like to share any updates or anything that's important for this group to know before we move forward.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. Good afternoon. I'll give you just a few. Can you hear me okay? Okay, just making sure. All right, give you a few updates from DHS. First thing is that the MCH Title V needs assessment. This is the last week for getting input from that. I think you probably all have the link, but I will make sure I put that in the chat before the end of the meeting here. But if you can give one last push to get input from your community, it's the last week for the surveys and the focus groups, and we're getting pretty good response, but of course we would like more, especially from the priority populations, but we're glad for any input that we get. So I will put the link in the chat in a bit, and if you can encourage your community to get some more in, we would really appreciate it. The second thing is the consolidated contract negotiations, and that is coming up very quickly. There was an email that went out early, I think to health officers by accident. It's not quite time yet, but probably this week or next week, everything will be ready to go. There is a open forum that will be this Wednesday that will walk through MCH negotiations. It will be recorded as well. So if you're not able to join, the recording will be emailed out. There is a requirement to register. If you haven't seen the registration, I will put that link in the chat as well. And hopefully you can join us on Wednesday. Let's see, I forget what time it is. I think it's, I should look at it quick. I think it's in the morning, if I remember right, 10 to 11:30, if my memory is correct. And then there are 8 objectives to choose from for negotiations. There's one added new this year, and that will be infant mortality prevention. So the total 8 objectives last year new was health equity and community engagement, and that will be there again. Social connections, physical activity and nutrition, perinatal mental health, developmental screening, breastfeeding, and then adolescent well-being. And you're welcome to, we encourage you to continue the work that you already started, build on what you're doing with adolescent well-being. Even if you choose other objectives, you're always welcome to join the learning calls and continue the work that you're started. A lot of them do overlap. So let's see, there's November 1st is the main deadline. That's where the supplement is due, the GAC entry is due, and then the Excel budget that has the details for the year. Those are due to your contract administrators. So we're coming to the end of Q3. So that means the outcome reporting is due shortly. If I think an email goes out, I'm not sure. Usually it's middle of the month after that it goes out, and then they're due October 31st. The due date for Q3 reporting is October 31st. If you're having any trouble with meeting your current scope of work, please reach out to your contract administrator now so they can help you figure out what you need to do. If you need any technical assistance, please reach out to UW Extension. They're more than willing to help you. It's also a time that we like to look at fiscal reporting and making sure that the GEARS reports for the main MCH funds as well as the match are being reported. So if I don't see substantial amount reported, I'll be reaching out to each agency specifically. And then as we move forward into 2025 negotiations, please be in touch with your contract administrator with whether you have questions or need to talk through anything. So, and just a reminder again that I will encourage you to register for the open forum, and that link will go in the chat, as well as the push to this week to get any more needs assessments completed. So that's all I have.
That was great, Heidi. Thank you so much. I'll just open it up if anyone has any questions for Heidi at this time. We certainly have plenty of time in our agenda for that. So if you'd like to ask any questions, now is a good time. Great. Thanks, Heidi. I see that in the chat too. We'll let everybody look at that briefly. All right. With that, we will move on. We are excited today to have Casie from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction here today. She is the Research and Evaluation Consultant, Youth Risk Behavior Survey Coordinator for the Student Services Prevention and Wellness Team at the DPI. And she is here today to talk about the statewide YRBS data that was released and share some trends and highlights and give us an opportunity for some collaborative conversation at the end of her talk today too. So with that, Casie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Wonderful, thank you. I will just get my screen share up here. And then can I just get a thumbs up that you see the right screen? Perfect. Thank you so much. Awesome. So yes, thank you for the introduction. My name is Casie Schulze. I will 100% give you. I know it's not the easiest name to pronounce. So if you have questions, please let me know. Yes, I am the YRBS coordinator and a research and evaluation consultant, and I'm excited to talk to you about the 2023 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, or YRBS, results. Just a little bit of background first for those who may be a little less familiar with the YRBS. The Wisconsin YRBS is conducted as part of a national effort with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to monitor health risk behaviors in the nation's high school students in grades 9 through 12. The state of Wisconsin has participated in this since 1993. Our collaboration with the CDC helps us to attain statewide representative data through a random sample of about 50 high schools. In addition, the DPI offers an elective survey. Schools with students in any grades 6 through 12 can choose to participate, and assuming rates of participation are high enough, we can generate school, district, and county reports and provide those back to the sites. In 2023, about 750 schools and approximately 200,000 students participated in this elective YRBS. The data from today, however, is from the 2023 statewide sample, the CDC sample I talked about a second ago. These results are based on a group of 1,882 students from 42 public, charter, and alternative high schools in Wisconsin. Data for the YRBS collection typically takes place in odd number years in the spring. Most recently, this was in spring of 2023, and next will be in spring of 2025. Some topics on the YRBS include traffic safety, weapons and violence, suicide, mental health, tobacco use, alcohol and other drugs, sexual behavior, diet, nutrition, and exercise. And just as a bit of a disclaimer, we know that the content in this presentation may be somewhat triggering, considering it includes topics like sexual violence, mental health, and suicide. This may be triggering, just as a warning. Similar to previous cycles, select groups of students continue to struggle more than their peers. Some of the groups of students struggling more than their peers are listed below, including female students, students of color, students with chronic health conditions, and students receiving special education services. The list reflects patterns in the YRBS data, and individual differences still do matter in these students. For example, a student who is not in any of these groups may still face significant challenges and need additional supports. Meanwhile, another student who falls in one or more categories here can still thrive, especially with a supportive environment. Rather than generalizing that students in these groups struggle due to their identity, we are trying to highlight the experiences of students in these groups and highlight the data that they've shared with us, as these trends are evident in the data. To start, a small number of students from the elective YRBS were offered to invite open-ended feedback on the survey itself and any of the topics covered. In their own words, one student shared, "I think mental health is a large problem in schools, whether it be from home reasons or the stress from work." And in general, we agree. Students in Wisconsin are continuing to struggle with their mental health. Approximately 60% of students in Wisconsin report at least one mental health concern. Over half of students struggle with anxiety, a third with depression, and a fifth report harming themselves intentionally. Rates of mental health concerns are especially high for select groups of students, including lesbian, gay, and bisexual or LGBT students, female students, students of certain races or ethnicities, and students in select other health risk categories. Mental health disparities for students in these groups is severe and should not be taken lightly. For example, more than twice as many LGBT students report harming themselves compared to the average student in Wisconsin. With reported mental health struggles, we also have to be concerned about student suicidality. Nearly 1 in 5 students in Wisconsin considered suicide. Nearly 1 in 6 students made a plan to do so, and nearly 1 in 10 reported that they attempted to die by suicide. While rates of suicidality had been decreasing in the early 2000s, they've been increasing again over the last 15 years. And like other risky behaviors, reported suicidality is worse for some student groups, including female students and LGBT students. One of the most important things that students can do when they are struggling with their mental health is to seek out help. On that topic, one student shared, "I have people in my life I can talk to if I'm feeling anxious, but I don't want to bother them in the case that they are busy. I usually talk to myself and work it out on my own." Fewer and fewer students are receiving the help that they need when they are feeling distressed. In 2023, approximately 1 in 5 students who felt sad, empty, hopeless, angry, or anxious agreed that they received the help that they needed most or all of the time. And this rate has been continuously decreasing since 2017. When asked who students are most likely to who they would seek out emotional support, students reported that they would most likely turn to a friend. Fewer reported that they would turn to a teacher, parent, or other adult, and more than 1 in 10 students were not sure who they would seek out. Decreasing levels of help-seeking behavior are especially concerning when some student groups are more likely to consider suicide than they are to receive the help that they need when they are distressed. The second chart on the right here shows some of this pronounced help gap. For example, about 40% of students who are LGBT have seriously considered suicide, but only 14% of those same students mostly or always received the help that they needed. This gap is similar for students facing food insecurity, where 30% considered suicide, while only 12% received the help that they needed when distressed. When thinking about other supports in place for students, we might think about protective factors. Generally, students who report these positive influences or protective factors, like having supportive adults or high levels of school belonging, these students are likely to engage in less risky behaviors like fighting, carrying a weapon, using drugs, or alcohol. These students are also more likely to report better outcomes, such as positive mental health and higher grades. However, these protective factors have been declining in the last few years. Perhaps most startling to me is the decreased level of school belonging, where in 2017, 71% of students reported that they felt like they belong at school, whereas in 2023, last year, only 54% of students felt that same way. Several of these factors that occur in schools are particularly low for students who report having school lower grades as well. One example of these protective factors is extracurricular involvement, such as being involved in sports, band, drama, or other groups or clubs. Students who participate in extracurricular activities have reported higher levels of school belonging, higher levels of supportive adults, and better mental health, including decreased anxiety, depression, and suicidality. On the topic of bullying, one student shared, "Most teachers don't notice how much bullying is happening in this school," while another shared, "Many members of the LGBTQ+ and BIPOC communities are heavily bullied and judged by much of the student body." Excuse me. The Wisconsin YRBS asks students about being bullied both at school as well as being bullied electronically, like through social media or text, sometimes called cyberbullying. Overall, rates of electronic bullying have remained consistent over the last decade, where rates of bullying on school property declined in 2021 and increased back to levels similar to 2019, perhaps due to the virtual learning environment that was used in the preceding 12 months of the survey. In 2023, about 22% of students reported being bullied on school property and about 18% reported being bullied electronically. Again, there are notable gaps in rates of bullying where female students reported higher rates of both in-person and electronic bullying compared to male students. And this gap is even more pronounced with LGBT students compared to their heterosexual peers. The 2023 Wisconsin YRBS also added a new question on perceptions of mistreatment due to one's race or ethnicity. More than their white peers, Black, Hispanic, Latino, and multiracial students reported that they always or most of the time felt badly or treated unfairly because of their race or ethnicity. However, in general, most students continue to feel safe at school. 75% of students felt safe at school most or all of the time in 2023, but this figure decreased from 2021. About 14% of students say that they rarely or never feel safe at school as well, and this number has been increasing over the last decade. Students of color were statistically more likely than their white peers to say that they do not feel safe at school. Among all racial groups, Black students and students who identified with multiple races were least likely to report feeling safe at school. Perceptions of school safety can also impact attendance. In 2023, for example, 10% of students reported that they had skipped school due to safety concerns, and the rate of this has been increasing over the last 10 years. Long-term trends over the past 30 years do indicate that young people are less sexually active than they have been in the past, though. Those who were sexually active in high school start later and have fewer sexual partners than students did in the 1990s or early 2000s. About 32%, or just short of 1 in 3 students, reported ever having sex. This is an increase from 2021 and a decrease from years prior. More than 1 in 5 students is currently sexually active, and this rate has been about unchanged for the last 10 years. Or, excuse me, it is about unchanged from 2021 and overall marks a 10-year decline. Young people may believe that quote unquote everyone is sexually active, but more and more high school students are not currently sexually active, even by 12th grade. However, nearly 1 in 8 students reported that at least once in the last year, someone had forced them to have sexual intercourse or that they had experienced a form of sexual violence. More than half of students who experienced sexual assault or coercion in their lifetimes indicated that it happened more than once. Some higher risk groups to experience sexual assault or coercion were food insecure students, LGBT students, female students, and students with chronic health conditions. And experiences of sexual assault or violence can also have a negative impact on mental health. Students who experienced sexual assault or coercion at least once in their lives were more than 3 times more likely to seriously consider suicide and 6 times more likely to have attempted suicide than students who had not experienced this. On the topic of alcohol and other drugs, or AODA, including commercial tobacco, one student shared, "Vaping in the bathroom is a big problem at our school." Long-term trends are indicating lower use across all substances. However, there are still pockets of concern that do exist, especially around marijuana use, prescription drug use, and vaping. Alcohol use has been decreasing over the past 30 years, which is something we'd like to see. The number of students who report recently drinking in 2023 is less than half as many as there were in 2001. Prescription pain medication misuse rates, unfortunately, have not changed in recent years. Given the dangers of synthetic opioids like fentanyl, the 11% of students reporting misusing prescription pain medication is very concerning. And about 28% of students had ever used marijuana. Approximately 1 in 3 students had ever vaped. Rates of vaping are highest among older students, like students in 11th and 12th grade, female students, LGBT students, and students who average D's or F's in school. Only about 5% students who do vape reported vaping daily. 22% of students who currently vape also smoke conventional cigarettes. Inversely, almost all students who smoke conventional cigarettes also vape. The number of students who smoke cigarettes, again, is also significantly decreased over the last 30 years. So while we do have about 16% of students who currently vape, only about 3% currently smoke cigarettes. On the topic of physical activity, about 49% of students reported engaging in at least 60 minutes of physical activity 5 or more times in the last week. This number has decreased recently, but is consistent with previous years. Conversely, the percentage of students who reported no physical activity in the last week has increased and is still about the same as previous years. Perceptions of physical health are also important. The percentage of students who describe their general health as excellent or very good has continually been decreasing over the last decade. In 2023, about 45% described their health as excellent or very good, compared to 47% in 2021 and 62% in 2013. Male students were more likely than female students to describe their health as excellent or very good. And in 2023, both male and female students reported the lowest recorded rates of excellent or very good health. And finally, like adults, young people spend much of their time online or otherwise in front of a screen. Daily reported screen time continues to increase in our youth. The 2023 Wisconsin YRBS question on technology use changed slightly from recreational screen time use excluding television to asking students the number of hours spent on any type of recreational screen, including time spent watching television. Screen time does not, however, include any time spent on a device for school assignments or homework. More than 3/4 of all students reported 3 or more hours of recreational time in front of a TV, computer, smartphone, or other electronic device each day, not counting time spent doing homework. The Wisconsin YRBS also includes 2 other questions related to screens and online behavior. The first asks students how many school nights students were online or otherwise using screens between midnight and 5 a.m. This was intended to capture the extent to which these screens were interfering with their sleep. More than half of students reported using screens after midnight on at least 1 night per week, and about 16% of students reported using such on every single school night. In 2023, there's a new Wisconsin YRBS question asking about social media use as well. It's possible that heavy social media use can play a role in students' overall mental health, rates of e-bullying, or both. While further analysis is needed, we're excited for this question as it will allow researchers to look at whether there are notable differences between mental health concerns among students who use social media frequently compared to those who do not. Not surprisingly from this question, we learned that the vast majority of students report using social media at least daily, 85% do, and 41% using social media at least hourly. The second question about social media was aimed at sexting, which asked students how many times in the past 30 days they sent, received, or shared nude images or other sexual content. Overall, about 1 in 5 students reported sending or receiving such images in the past 30 days. And this is about on par with the past few years. I know that was very data heavy. I just want to share out too that if you or someone you know feel that you are in a crisis, we do have a few resources. Please reach out to one of the ones available on your screen, including the 988 emergency hotline for mental health. Additional resources to support schools or students can also be found on the Student Services Prevention and Wellness website. I'll take a quick pause here. What questions do you have on the YRBS data so far? I'll give it at least a minute. I know it takes a second to form a question, so that's okay. I see a question in the chat that says, are we able to see our local data? If so, how? So school and district reports are shared specifically with those schools and districts through the Secure Access File Exchange Program, or system, excuse me. And that is only available to folks who have been authorized by a district to use those reports. Once we share reports with schools and districts, they have to follow their local policies on whether or not they can share those reports with counties. But generally, we refer county folks or others to ask. You can ask a school if they're able to share it with you, and then they will tell you their policy on that. We do have the county reports available on our website. I have a couple of resources, a few slides ahead that maybe after breakout rooms, if we have a few minutes, I can talk about what's available on the website. County reports are available publicly on our website. Right now, the 2023 high school county reports are available, and then middle school reports will be coming in the near future. Other questions? Go back.
Another question, Casie, came into the, what should local and tribal health departments be doing to prepare for the spring 2025 YRBS to get school engagement? Great question.
Y'all are reading my mind. We don't have a whole lot of information shared publicly yet since we're still deep in the planning phase of 2025 YRBS. But information about the YRBS is going to be available in 2 main places. One is on our website. Everything will be posted on our website for info. But if you want real-time updates, we have a email distribution list that we'll be sending more information to. So if you're not already, you can send a subscription email to the, I'll paste this in chat. You can send an email to that listserv sign up, and then you can receive our emails with information about the upcoming YRBS administration.
Next question in the chat is, any recommendations or tools for public communication of county-wide YRBS data?
Recommendations or tools. So my answer to that brings us kind of back into what we're going to discuss here in breakout rooms in a couple minutes. But it really depends on how you and the county can use the data and what your county data looks like. We at the state try to cast a really wide net. We offer, let's go back to my other slide. tools. We have a statewide long form, like more traditional report, this first one, summary report. We also report out in fact sheets some of the data that is most concerning to us, and we record a presentation. So folks, like if you want to see this data presented over again, we'll have a recorded presentation on our website soon. The link is not available yet, but it will be soon. So we try to offer a couple different forms of media with data that are speaking to us about the state. So if I were to recommend you anything for your countywide data, it would be to read through your county report, notice what is speaking out to you, whether it's concerns of like alcohol use or mental health in your area, and then you can advocate for some of those concerning data points, or highlight changes, especially if you have programs that are aimed to reduce substance use, for example. I know a lot of folks are on the Drug-Free Communities grant and are interested in that data. If you're seeing changes in substance use in your county and you do one of those programs, I would highlight maybe a correlation between those two things, if it's applicable in your situation, of course. Another thing that I'm hearing from schools, speaking of local data, county health departments have been really excited for their data, and we had different levels of engagement in the 2023 YRBS. Since the 2021 was pushed to the fall, the 2023 spring YRBS was then like the next school year. So we had different levels of schools who wanted to participate, and that did impact a couple of the county reports. So something that I would encourage all of the county staff to do is that if you want a county report or you want to keep having a county report, I would highly recommend reaching out, building relationships with your schools, and then helping to encourage them to sign up for the YRBS and helping keep them accountable too. Sometimes we all can sign on for like the YRBS and things don't work out or something happens that school day and they don't end up administering. So as a county health department, you can help follow up and check in with them as well to not only get them registered, but also be like, hey, how did it go? So that follow-up can be huge. Thanks for the question.
That's great. Casie, I was just going to ask a follow-up question too around that recording. If they subscribe, so if individuals subscribe to the update list or the YRBS general list, will they get a notification when that recording is available that you were indicating?
We can send something out if that is what folks are looking for. We're just waiting on final closed captioning, so that should be out like in the very near future.
Completely understood. We understand the delay that the closed captioning can cause in getting information out to people.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions? I appreciate all of you that are asking questions in the chat. It's so valuable for everyone. Also really allowing us to practice our pausing skills. That's fantastic. Thank you. All right. With that, I think, Casie, if you want to jump to your reflection questions, and then I'm going to add maybe an additional reflection opportunity. But we are going to go ahead and put everyone into some small breakout rooms for conversation. We know that sometimes there's a lot of wisdom in this space, and it can be just challenging to come off mute and to share those reflections and those thoughts, and maybe smaller spaces are more comfortable to engage in. So Zoe's going to go ahead and put everyone into breakout rooms, and Casie has curated some really great reflection questions I know as you were reviewing the data, man, there were some things that really stood out to me, and I am really curious what stands out to everyone else. So we'd love for you to reflect together on what statewide data really stood out to you. What topics are relevant to the work that you are doing in your county? So other opportunities to connect and to collaborate in these small spaces. How are you currently using the youth risk behavior survey data in your work? And how might you use the youth risk behavior survey data in the future? And I would just like to add an additional lens of youth engagement. I know Taylor Seal, who's not able to be on the call today, but she's part of our MCH team. She and I had a really fantastic phone call last week with one of your county partners or colleagues around that specific topic of developing youth engagement strategies for youth risk behavior survey implementation. So I would love to add that question to your question set for your small group opportunities for conversation. So we'll open those rooms up for about 10 minutes. We want to give you plenty of time to have some conversation in those spaces. Feel free to chat back to the main room if you are really engaged in some great conversation and you'd like us to leave those rooms open for a bit longer. And we do have some time to be able to extend that space, but we don't want it to be awkwardly long either. And be prepared when we come back into this space to sort of share some highlights of the conversations that your group has had. Again, small groups are fantastic, but this whole group can really benefit when we share out and reflect together. So when Zoe is ready, I will invite her to open those rooms and we'll send you off into those spaces and we'll see you back here in the main room in about 10 minutes. Into the main room. We're still waiting for a few more, but stick with us. We've got some more conversation and opportunity to share some resources and some other pieces with you. Casie is not done yet.
Do we want to take a few minutes and ask folks to come on and feel free to share any of the responses to those questions? Like what conversations came up in your group?
Well, in our group, we briefly talked about um, being able to get people to, anytime you're wanting to address um, data and things that need to be taken care or focused on, it's hard to get outside people to commit for town halls or for any other type of learning education. Um, both of us are in northern Wisconsin in different areas, and anything related to drug and alcohol and mental health are high on our list of things that stand out and data that we use, but to break outside of the norm of, oh, our bar to per capita ratios are huge. And so trying to get past all of that and just getting people to want to help and want to be a part of things.
That is a reflection that I do hear. I do hear that sometimes. Thank you for sharing that. What other things did people talk about in their group? Another way we can phrase this is, I know there are a few county health departments that are doing some work with YRBS in the area. Would anyone like to speak up on maybe some of what you're doing with the YRBS data in your area?
Our folks here did a story walk. So they presented the data with the teens. We've only had one YBRS, and that was a couple of years ago, but they did a data walk at the teens' direction and let them lead what information they wanted to present and how they were to present it. So it was a pretty cool event.
Sounds like a really great opportunity. It's it can be challenging to engage youth when maybe they're confused about what the YRBS is or they don't understand it as well. That's really exciting to hear that you're engaging youth to share the results. Thank you. I do see a reflection in the chat. I think you're about to say the same thing, Danette. Peggy said, we create a county report and are working on developing an online dashboard of YRBS data. And that sounds fantastic. I imagine that will go on your website, and I will be excited if you can share that when you're done. I would love to see it. Any other reflections before we move on to some additional resources and reports that are available? Not hearing anyone jumping at it, I will go ahead and move us forward. Thanks for your participation and patience with that. It's really exciting for me to hear how folks are using the YRBS on other levels. But so that you have a bit of a view of how what's available for the state of Wisconsin. On our website at the link in our chat, it's the Student Services Prevention Wellness YRBS website. For 2023, right now, we have the statewide summary report. We have some local comparison tables. So if you have those local reports, you can compare some of what you have at the local level going on to the statewide numbers. We also have a couple of fact sheets. This year, the topics were mental health, disparities for marginalized groups, which you can imagine are both highlighted topics from this presentation, as well as emerging topics like social media and different health risk behaviors. We will soon have a recorded presentation. I mentioned earlier that we have that done. We are just waiting on closed captioning, and then that link will also be available on the 2023 section of the website. We also have some CDC reports. So when we send our data to the CDC, they share that back with us and they provide a few additional reports. So there's a survey overall summary tables and graphs from the CDC, an academic achievement and sexual identity report, as well as some trend reports from the last 10 and 20 years. On the CDC's website, they have information about the national YRBS. This starts to be a little confusing. We have the statewide YRBS, and then CDC operates the national YRBS. On their website, they have some national data. They just recently released a 10-year summary trend report from 2013 to 2023, and they have trend reports from 17, 19, 21, and 23. But the most recent one is just now available. They also have the YRBS analysis tool, the Youth Online, and the YRBS Explorer. These are different online tools to help you visualize and look at data in different ways. Right now, they're limited to 21 data, but they will eventually be updated to have that 2023 data. They're neat to use. I like the Youth Online one specifically because you can do, you can visualize and like pull up the map. You can still break down to some of the national data based on states. And then I believe it's the YRBS analysis tool allows you to do some statistical comparison like in live time on their website. So it's a neat tool. It's slightly different data than what we use for the statewide sample. So you might notice that numbers differ slightly, but they are mostly in line with each other. And then we mentioned a little more early, or a bit earlier, but if you want to receive our emails or sign up for our email distribution list, feel free to send an email with the word subscribe in the heading to that email address. And you'll sign up for our information. In the near future, we're going to have information about the 2025 YRBS registration, and we'll be reaching out to the sample schools in the start of the new year. All of that to come. There's lots of time between now and then. And then if you do have any questions, again, my name is Casie Schulze. I work hand in hand with Denise Cahoot to make the YRBS successful here in Wisconsin. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email or call us, and we'll do what we can.
Casie, thank you so much. I just also want to give everyone a reminder of the Youth Engagement 101 tip sheet or fact sheet that was created by Taylor and Jen Braun, and the Patch, a youth wellness advisory group that supported our work in this last year. That can also be a really great tool for you to go to, and we can send that out along with the link to this presentation when it's ready, just as a reminder of where you can find that. But that is a great tool for you to begin to think about youth engagement and how might you engage youth around the youth risk behavior survey process, reviewing the data, action planning, and all of those pieces as well. So those are some great tools around there. As I noted earlier, we've had a few conversations with health departments around that youth engagement piece. And it's really exciting to hear how some of your wheels are starting to turn in that space and in that direction to really engage youth around not just the data and reviewing the data, but also thinking. So I loved that there's a question about engaging around year 2025. And also, Casie, I chuckled a little bit when you were like, there's a lot of time. And as we all know, right, that time is going to go super fast by the time that survey comes around. So now is a great time to start planning and thinking about how you might engage youth in that process of implementation and survey completion as well, like the whole process, right? From planning, implementation, and then data review and action planning. So that youth engagement 101 one-pager guide can be a great place to start, and we can also provide additional resources and supports around that as well. So thank you so much. For those that are still on, if you have other questions that come up, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We have a little bit of extra information to share with you before we close out our time together. And we'll share our contact information. And thank you again, Casie, for sharing yours as well and all of those resources. Just a reminder that we have 2 mental health first aid courses coming up this Friday. We have about 10 spaces left. The class is running. It's happening. We're super excited to be able to offer that to you. Tracy and Danielle are 2 of our extension educators that will be facilitating or teaching that course. Virtually, there is pre-work that needs to be completed, but we do have about 10 spaces open. So if anyone wants to let me know by the end of the day today that they just happen to have Friday all day available to take that class, please reach out by the end of the day today. I'll be happy to get you into the platform, the Connect platform, and you have plenty of time to still get your approximately, again, 2 hours of pre-work done before that class starts on Friday. But we do have an additional opportunity for you on October 18th. Again, this will be another online opportunity. Deadline to register so that we can make a decision on if we're going to host the class for sure is October 11th. We need about 5 more people to be able to host the course. So we like registration to be at 10 at a minimum. And when I just looked before our session today, we had 5 individuals registered. So please consider registering there. Zoe, thank you so much. You put the registration links into the chat. These are no cost to attend, and the audience is your health department staff. So please also share with your office colleagues if there is an interest in becoming certified as a mental health first aider. We would love to see you in those sessions. Next, we just want to touch base again, just a reminder that we are still sending a monthly newsletter. We know that we've been troubleshooting all year long with some IT issues and some bounce back and things like that. We've updated, and by we, I actually mean Zoe. Zoe has updated our contact sheet and all of our emails with the contacts that are listed in the DHS Smart Sheet. So our next issue is going out on September 30th. If you do not receive that newsletter, please let us know. We can work to send it to you separately. We know sometimes there's just issues with the receiving these mass emails. Make sure we're on your safe senders list. But even then, when it goes out to a mass group, we know that sometimes they're still getting kicked out and not going through to inboxes. So let us know. Our youth health email is the best way to reach out to our MCH technical assistance team. So please consider using that email to reach out to us. Also, please consider sharing the work that you are doing in your counties for inclusion in the newsletter. You are the wisdom in this space. The work that you are doing is really valuable to your colleagues all across the state. And so please consider sharing with us. Again, you can just email a highlight to us, something that you'd like to share out. We would love to share that information out with the rest of your colleagues around the state. So don't hesitate to do that. Don't be shy. That is how we grow and expand this work, by sharing the efforts that are happening around the state. Finally, if there are things that could be valuable to you that would make that newsletter more meaningful, any additional communication pieces that you would like to see in there, please share that with us as well. You can share that feedback with us, an evaluation from today. You can send us an email, whatever would work best for you. But please let us know if there's any way we can help serve you better through that newsletter communication. Next, we want to let you know, as we noted, today is our last learning community call for the year. It's kind of hard to believe that we have conducted 4 of these already, and that we are closing out this calendar year sooner than later. As we noted, that time will pass quickly. We do have office hours sessions scheduled for the remainder of the year. So we've got October 10th, November 14th, and December 12th. We will be sharing out the topics of those upcoming office hours in the previous newsletter. So stay tuned for our October office hour topic in the September newsletter. With that, we want to not encourage you to sign off. Zoe, if you could go ahead and put the evaluation link into the chat, that would be great. We also want to open up, we have 15 minutes, and we like to certainly not spend any additional time that we don't need to in this space, but we'd also love to give you space to ask us questions and to reflect, if you'd like to reflect a bit more on the presentation today. Or any other questions that you might have. Our team can stay in this space until 1:30. We have it on our calendars. If not, please take a few moments to complete our evaluation. Your feedback to us means a lot. You have an opportunity to not just reflect on this session, but also give us feedback on how we can better serve you as we close out the remainder of this year, and also begin to think about how we serve you in year 3. Coming up shortly. So thank you again for being in this space, and we look forward to serving you throughout the remainder of the year. Feel free to stay on and ask questions and engage as well. Otherwise, take care and have a great rest of your Monday.